back to the Related Podcast. I am your host, Amanda Bybel, and I am so excited for today's episode. So I had the honor of talking with Zoey Arielle Poulsen, and we talked about all things manifestation and self-love and travel and just so many incredible things that I know that you guys are going to be so inspired by. And I cannot wait for you to get to know Zoey a little bit today on the podcast and really just kind of dig into your own self-love journey. So without further ado, I am so excited to welcome Zoey onto the Related Podcast today. So Zoey is a dream life architect and freedom designer. She is an author, a motivational speaker, and she's also a good friend of mine, and I am just super excited for you guys to meet her today. So keep listening if you want to feel super inspired. Hello, everybody. I am here with Zoey Arielle Poulsen. She is an entrepreneur, a dream chaser, a life coach, and she has created the life beyond her wildest dreams. So as the season goes, we are bringing on some really incredible women. And today I am going to be chatting with Zoey. So I hope you guys enjoy the conversation with us, some girl chat. And with that, Zoey, why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about who you are, what you do, give us a little intro so they get to know who you are a little bit.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Amanda. I'm so happy and grateful to be here. So my name is Zoey Poulsen. On social media, I tend to go by my first and middle name, which is Zoey Arielle. And some of you might know me from YouTube, or I have a personal podcast, Note to Self. I've also co-hosted a couple of other podcasts through my career. But the way that I think that I label myself now, I'm going to try to stay away from labels and ways to sometimes they can box us in, but dream life architect and freedom designer. This is something that I hired a branding expert last year, and she helped me out with, because I feel like when I get down to the root of who I am, when I get down to the core, like you mentioned, Amanda, I'm all about just chasing dreams and just really creating and cultivating my dream life all the time, always tuning in with myself, like, what is that? And past and previous versions of Zoe, that kind of looked like moving abroad to Italy and becoming an entrepreneur and working for myself. And then in recent times, like I'm just transitioning out of living in Bali for 2 years. So I really just always been about going for my dream life, and in that helping others do the same and constructing and helping them design what their dream life looks like to them and what that next level of freedom looks like to them, whether it's internal freedom, location freedom, freedom in what they're doing with their work. And that's really what I'm passionate about.
I love that. When you said dream life architect, I literally got chills like up and down my body. It just sounds so magical. Right? Like when I hear dream life architect, I feel like my heart expands. Like that's so beautiful. I love that. So how did you manifest your dream life? How did you have the courage to move abroad and go to Italy and move abroad and go to Bali and like do all of these incredible, amazing things? Because I know for me, when I decided to start my journey through entrepreneurship and as a life coach and everything, like there were a bunch of years of like pushing up against this wall and I couldn't break out of it. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, I do want to acknowledge those fears, because they're very real and they're very natural. Anytime that, of course, we want to expand our comfort zone in ways, make leaps in ways, there's always going to be resistance that shows up. But I think there's so much power in awareness and being aware that, okay, that's just fear. Fear itself is an illusion. And it's like, when we get down to it right now, I know that you know this too, Amanda, it's all mindset, right? It's just like really minding your mind and recognizing, okay, where might I be holding myself back? But I think for me, in making those leaps, it was really just honoring what was on my heart, the desire that was on my heart to, let's say, move to Italy, and knowing that I had to walk that out. And in my personal reality during that time, before I made the first initial like leap into moving to Europe, what had happened was the universe was making me very uncomfortable. I had just come out of an abusive relationship that was followed by a court case. Like there was a lot that was going on in my reality that could have prompted me with a lot of excuses, like not to, like, I can't, like, it would be too hard. Like, nothing's going in my favor right now. I was also in corporate marketing and living in Toronto. So, like, very much I was living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm like, how could I make this work? Like, there were so many reasons why it couldn't have worked. But what I knew for sure was that this desire to live in Italy was on my heart for many years, ever since I first visited Rome, which was about 5 years prior to me actually making the move. I tossed a coin in the Trevi Fountain and I promised myself I would be back and I would be living there. And it just was like the daydream that I couldn't escape, if that makes sense. It was the calling that was just pulling me. And the day that I booked my flight, actually, I had gotten into an argument with my boss, and it was just, I realized that I was working more than I was living, as in I would show up at the office at 8 a.m. and I would leave sometimes like 9 p.m. at night. And I'd realized like that's not a life. And what is the life that I want to live? And so I remember crying, walking home from work one day, and I'm like, that's it. I'm just going to buy a one-way ticket on my credit card and I'll figure it out. And I did. And then, sometimes we have to leap. I'm not telling anyone to go book flights on your credit card and quit your job today or anything like that. I got to preface that. But you have to trust yourself. You have to tune into the calling on your heart and understand that you wouldn't have those desires on your heart if they weren't meant for you to walk out. And so honor yourself.
I love that so much because, you started saying how there was all of these reasons why you couldn't do it. And it was really about just shifting your focus to all of the things that become possible when you do. Right.
Yes.
And I think in like society today, we all as in people in society are conditioned to almost live in effect or like look at the negatives or like why things shouldn't work out, kind of like erring on the side of caution, right? And you also mentioned comfort zone too. So like erring on the side of caution and living within our comfort zone. I was like that for so long. And I have an amazing husband who is very much in the comfort zone conservative approach, which I totally appreciate because for me, I can live like, all the way up in the clouds sometimes. And he's like, Amanda, let's bring it back. We're going to get there. We're just not there yet. But I remember for so long thinking like, is this ever going to be possible for me? And like coming from that space of like so much lack almost instead of like having that shift in the trust in myself. And I think when you were saying how like you just like you flipped the coin, you promised yourself you were going to go back there and then you booked that one-way ticket to Italy, like where were you able to like dig up that like inner self-trust from, especially coming from like that corporate background where like as far as like societal standards go, like we're supposed to graduate high school, graduate college, go work a 9 to 5 for the rest of our lives, retire, and then everything else. And inside of there is like no room for almost like that spontaneity and that inner trust of like I can do whatever the F I want to do. And like this is the path that I'm going to take. So how was that like self-trust like cultivated? Was it always there? Was it something you had to develop?
Yes. I mean, this is a brilliant question. I feel like there's so many ways that we could go about this. I think for me, like my sort of big initial oomph to make that leap was that like I said, the universe did make me deeply uncomfortable. I was in an abusive relationship and I took myself out of that and I spent the year like really tuning into my inner world and who I am and rebuilding myself from the ground up. Like I would say at that point in my life, I had hit sort of a rock bottom. Because like when that relationship ended, I was homeless. He had stolen all my money and gambled it away. And I was living in a city away from my family. I didn't really have close friends that I felt like could support me. So I really like in that time, like I said, that year of healing before I made the leap to Italy was all about just becoming my own best friend. And I think in that, like just like rebuilding my life from, let's say, the ashes in ways and just really looking at my inner self-talk, journaling every day, and really just focusing on what will have me feeling good each day. And cultivating, creating that deep relationship with the self then allowed me to know, like to have that inner knowing and that trust that it doesn't matter what I do, I've got me better than I've ever had me. And that's the answer. Like, it doesn't matter. I'll figure it out. As in, like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to make this move to Italy because it's on my heart. Or even like when I made move to Bali, I'm like, I'm going to make this move to Bali because it's on my heart. And I know that I've got me. I know that like I'm never going to, let's say, hit a rock bottom again, because I would never let that happen to myself. My self-awareness is too high. I'm always tuning in with myself. I'm meditating. I'm consciously creating my reality each day, and I'm not going to let anything happen to me. So I'd say it's like it was really about cultivating a best friendship within.
Ooh, I love
Yeah.
that. It's really about being your own best friend. I've never heard it stated like that before. So I love
Mhm.
that. And I think it's so interesting too, because like it's not about how do I want to phrase this? So it's about being your own best friend and knowing like you, for me at least, like being my own best friend, but like knowing that like I might fuck up again, or I might hit a rock, not maybe a full blown rock bottom, but like knowing that I have these tools and these practices that have been able to carry me along and help me make those decisions along the way. Like I got that. That's so powerful because every day I do and the reason why I was like 2 minutes late for our call, other than the technical difficulties, because I was asking like, is there a retrograde happening right now that I'm not aware of? Is there? Like, I have no idea. I was scripting, right? So like one of my favorite manifestation practices and also self-love practices is scripting every single day. And I like got carried away in it. And I was just writing all the things that I was grateful for in like my scripting for the end of the month. And I'm laughing because, that simple tool in itself, just like journaling every single day, has actually been one of the most powerful things for me to pull me out of like these moments of what the hell do I do next? And it's like this subconscious channeling onto paper that allows me that direction almost. I'm like, I didn't even realize I wanted that, but like I get to trust that my mind and that my goals and my dreams are going to happen based off of like what I'm projecting onto the paper, into the future, all the things. So do you have any like tips or tricks for anybody out there who's listening saying like, I want to really deepen my like self awareness or become my own best friend? Do you have any like tips for anybody out there?
Yeah, well, I love that you shared the scripting exercise, Amanda, because
Yeah.
journaling is so powerful. It's such like,
Mhm.
even if you're just like stream of consciousness writing, like that's a beautiful way to draw connections, to express your feelings and emotions and connect the dots. I found like I mean, thinking of that year that I just expressed, like coming out of that relationship and then deciding to move to Italy, I couldn't afford therapy because, like I said, I was at this rock bottom.
Right.
But what I knew to do, I was like, let me just write into how I'm feeling every single day
Mhm.
and also practice and cultivate gratitude. And there was so much to be grateful for. I realized, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I got out of that relationship. Thank God. Like, oh wow, I live in this beautiful city. Thank goodness. Like I've got me, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And it like just cultivating gratitude can go so far. And it's so powerful to express that through writing. And as you know, like scripting is if you take the time to just consciously and also channel out like these feelings, these thoughts, you can pleasantly surprise yourself. And you
Right.
don't even have to do it for a long time. It's not like you need to script away for like 45 minutes or an hour. Sometimes it's just like 15 minutes and you're like in another world and you're so happy and excited. So, I mean, journaling is always like the tool that I feel like stands the test of time.
Mhm.
And I also like, I love visualization. Like, I love just like putting on music, maybe even just binaural beats or a good track and just visualizing my next level dream life. And this is actually a way that I've consciously created my reality, is like going to the quantum field, let's say, or quantum physics and quantum manifesting, quantum leaping, all of that. Really, for me, it's just been like tuning into the power of the imagination and visualization and consciously creating that, because we have so much power as individuals that I feel like until you kind of tap into the world of manifestation, you can recognize, oh, I've like made things happen in the past. But as soon as you dive in a bit deeper, as I'm sure you're like, wow, I've got so much more within me than I ever thought possible. And it's really exciting to capitalize on that and just
Right?
consciously create every day. Yeah.
It's so cool. I freaking love visualization. Like, honestly, it's probably, aside from like scripting and journaling, one of my favorite things to do. And it is so, I used to curse all the time before I'm going to talk about this because I have
Yeah.
2 young kids at home. I can't curse without my 2-year-old repeating everything that I say. So I was like just about to say something and I just was about to say darn instead. I'm like, when was the last time I ever used the word darn or dang? Sometimes like mom brain, it's so crazy. But visualization, oh my gosh. So I could like go down like the rabbit hole of visualization, talk about all day long. So for everybody listening, visualization is definitely one of the most powerful things that you can do for yourself because your mind literally doesn't know the difference between something imagined and something happening in real life. So your subconscious mind is so freaking cool. Like it is processing so much all around all the time. 2.3 million bits of information per second, by the way. So we get to choose which of those pieces of information come into our awareness. And through visualization, we're actually taking our conscious reality and integrating it with our subconscious mind so that we can raise our internal vibration and become like that vibrational match to everything that we're creating in our dreams, in our real life, and take those steps in order to get there. So with visualization, I like to do like what I see, what I hear, what I feel, and like all the things. So that way I can literally like taste it, it's just so much fun. For your journey going into like Italy and going then to Bali and now sort of reimagining what everything is like, what are like those next big visualizations for you?
Yes. Okay. So, oh, I just love this topic. And I mean, just like you were
Right?
speaking into, yeah, the subconscious mind is just like so like we have the power to create via the subconscious mind. And
It's
it's
like
actually like,
magic.
it is magic. It is
It really
magic.
is.
Yeah. And I think like it can be so simply put as Neville Goddard says, imagination creates reality. And also, another quote by Neville Goddard, I love the old school manifestation teachers,
Of
but
course.
he's like, acceptance of the end wills the means to that end. So what that acceptance of the end is essentially like you putting yourself in the end. Like, let's say you want to go on a trip to, the Bahamas. So
Yeah.
you're imagining yourself in the Bahamas. So you're already accepting that reality. And so it will the means to that end, which means that it's almost like the universe will conspire, reverse engineer that in your favor. So it's like
It
as soon as you
reminds me,
accept,
it reminds me of the law of assumption.
yes,
Like it's just
exactly.
happening. Like you're accepting
Yes.
it, like it's happening. So of course, now, yeah, sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. The law of assumption. So it's like assuming that if you plant those seeds in your imagination, your reality will be created in that way. Back to your question. So I have decided that I'm going to go fully nomadic for a year. Like I'm just going to let my intuition
Wow.
lead me wherever it's going to lead me this year. I've got like basically 2 plans. Like
Okay.
I've got like 2 retreats that I'm attending, let's say, throughout the year.
Okay.
And other than that, I'm just going to let my intuition guide the way and let my soul just speak to me and just honor that. And I mean, it's very spontaneous. It's not what I expected to do. I just decided to do this a couple months ago, but like of course the universe conspires in my favor and makes that happen. And I guess the things that I'm seeding in the quantum field or seeding in my subconscious mind is like traveling the world, lots of warm destinations. I'm there, I'm experiencing it. Also creating a next level of freedom and stability in my business, going after those goals and getting those achieved, and then also falling in love because I feel like it's time for me. It's time.
Oh my gosh. I love all that. So wait, where in the world are you right now?
I'm at my presently at my parents' place in on
Okay.
Vancouver Island in Canada. I'm yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it is cold,
Oh yeah,
especially
you
coming
want
from
all of
Bali.
the warm weather happening. That's why I like the Bahamas and all the things, right? Like sunshine.
Yes. Totally. And then well, I'm actually heading to Tulum next week, and that's where I'll be starting my journey. So I'm very excited to be back in the sunshine.
Tulum has literally been calling my name for the last like 2 or 3 years. Every time I look at, a vision, like someone's like visual aesthetic on Instagram and they're like something with like palm trees and all the things, I click on it and I'm like, Tulum again. Like I feel like I'm being called to go to Tulum. So you're going to have to let me know how Tulum is because I hear it's like super magical and spiritual and just amazing.
Yes, definitely. Say come visit. I'll let you know how long, of
I would
course, keep
love
you
to.
posted on
I
how
would
long I
love to leave
stay.
like the kids at home and and come and like hop on a plane over to Mexico. That's amazing. Falling in love, that sounds like a great thing to do this year too. Being in love
Yeah.
for me has been like, having having a soulmate and having someone who balances all the places where I need the balancing, grounding me when I'm literally up in the air all the time. It's just so great. And then the other thing that you said was you were going to fall in love, manifesting big things in your business, and then
Travel the world.
travel the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
Travel the world. How many countries do you want to travel to, or is it something you're not really sure about?
Yeah, it's something I'm not really sure about. Like I said, I'm just gonna let my intuition guide me, but I
Okay.
feel like I feel a European summer. And I also would really like to go to Egypt. I've never been to Egypt, and I just feel the pyramids are also a place that are like calling for probably some spiritual activations and rememberings of some kind. So I just love to be on an adventure. I'm a
I love
Sagittarius,
it.
so
I love a good adventure. It really beats like and for anybody who's listening who's like in their corporate job and you love your corporate job, by all means, keep going. You should
yes.
always want to do something that you do love and that you wake up excited for because like Zoe and me both were in corporate and I hated it. It drained me. And like I hate to use the word hate because it's such a strong word, but like it literally is where you spend your entire life essentially other than sleeping. The other place where you spend most of your time is probably at work, right? I was a corporate executive assistant in finance for forever, and every single day I would come home thinking like, isn't there more to life? Like, this is what I have to deal with. Like, I have to deal with this and that and all the other things. And I had like a meltdown very similar to you, right? Like, I got home from work one day and I was just like, I lost my shit. I just
Mhm.
lost it.
Yeah.
I'm like, something's got to change. And I don't know what it is, but like, it has to be within because I've tried everything else on the outside. And it's just not fixing this hole for me. Um, so if you love your corporate job, keep going. But I don't remember where I was going with that now because I had a whole note for myself right here. And then I just totally whatever. But if you love what you do, keep doing it. And if you don't love what you do, it's time to tune in to your inner knowing, trust your gut, and start visualizing those dreams that you really want to do because there's no better time than right now to start
Mhm.
making those choices. And it's never too late, and you're not too old or you're not too young. You're always in the right place. And having yourself as that best friend is really going to carry you through, right? So, Zoe, I have a couple more questions for you that I wrote down here that I definitely want to ask you before we go. The first one is, do you have any tips or things that you would like to leave our listeners with today?
Ooh, tips. Okay, so while we're on the topic, of course, manifesting and consciously
Yeah.
creating your dream life, I would say, like, for those of you who this like piqued your interest, is to start diving into content on the subconscious mind. Like one book that really comes to me that really supported me in this journey was Dr. Joe Dispenza's Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, because it
Ooh.
really kind of breaks down like the power of our minds and how to consciously create, and also how to visualize and start to move forward in that way, how reality works at a subatomic level. So when you understand that, when you understand how reality works, like on that very, 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 very close level, you can start to realize how powerful you are. As in, like, reality is actually malleable, and you can collapse time, you can make big things happen in short periods of time, and nothing is beyond like possibility for you. Like I said, those dreams that are on your heart, they're meant for you to walk out for a reason. So Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, I find, for me, was very supportive in just realizing how much power I did have when it comes to the subconscious mind and creating my reality. And I would also just say, like, mind your mind, be the gentle observer of your mind. That's always like a very powerful tip. And just like, where are you speaking to yourself, not like that best friend, and then start to just adjust and, be compassionate with yourself, because a lot of that stuff is on autopilot. It's already been wired in based on how we grew up, but you do have the power to change it. Neuroplasticity, we can always change and rewire our brains. And yeah, just sending you all so much love, and just know that like you are so worthy and deserving of everything that your heart desires, and you can make it happen for yourself always.
You can make it happen for yourself always, because you do fucking deserve it. Because you
Yes.
fucking deserve it,
Yes.
people. We're going from PG to R rated real quick.
Oh,
But
so
that's
true
so
though.
true. I love it. If you have that inner whisper, it's there for a reason. You are meant
Mhm.
to do it. You are meant to see it. You're meant to experience it. You're meant for so much, because if it's in you, it is in you, you can reach on in there and bring it into your reality. So where can our listeners find you? Do you have anything new coming out that might interest them?
Yes. Thank you so much, Amanda. So on social media, I'm Zoey Arielle, ZoeyArielle, and I have yeah, Instagram is where I'm probably the most active. Also a YouTube channel. I'm actually coming out with a new series on Iboga plant medicine. So this is a plant medicine that I
Ooh.
took part in at the end of last year. It's very powerful. I went down to Costa Rica to do that, and so I'm going to be sharing a series on how I like it's actually brain medicine, as we're on the topic of like rewiring your brain. So I did work with that Amazonian plant medicine and just rewired my brain in ways, and healed a lot of old patterning and conditioning and trauma from the past. So that series will be coming out in March on YouTube. But other than that, I guess the day to day on socials, and my website is zoearielle.co if you feel the call to check out that or work with me in any capacity. So yeah, thank you so much, Amanda, for having me. I really
Oh, you're so
appreciate it.
welcome. And everyone, you can find the links below. So if you're watching on YouTube, the links are in the description. And if you're watching or listening on Apple or Spotify, then you can find it in the description box. But make sure you go give Zoey a follow. I have been following Zoey for quite some time on YouTube, and I have always been so inspired by you. And I'm just so grateful that you wanted to come and chat with me today. This was so much fun. I love anything around manifestation and like creating your dream life. And I knew you were an exact match for the way that the podcast direction is going in. So thank you so much for having taking the time to chat with me today. And I hope to chat with you soon.
Yes, thank you so much, Amanda.